All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Have a pretty massive slate with a lot of news. Kind of what are your initial thoughts for the slate, Chuck?
Well, I'm happy we got some of the big pieces of news we were waiting for now. We already know Porzingis is out, and then Rudy Gobert is out. We just got that news about 15 minutes ago. Mike Conley was already announced out for rest. And then the other big one is Clint Capella's out. So Jalen Johnson was already showing up as a second best value on DraftKings. I haven't refreshed him. Maybe he's at the top now, but either way, we're going to be very interested in Jalen Johnson. And then Onyeka Okongwu also. He's too cheap, and he has not quite he didn't have elite performances last time we were in this situation, but I think we just go right back to those Hawks guys.
Yeah, and those are the top two that are popping up value-wise. Any love for Bey at all, or Bogdanovic as well? Because they didn't really get a price bump either, and those are two players that, I mean, with Bey, he's already had heavy minutes. He kind of feels like a safe play on both sides. Bogdanovic projected to get 30.1 minutes, so not exactly a bump, but is that something where maybe we chase maybe a little bit of a minutes bump there? Because obviously if he gets 34, that's pretty huge for him.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in Bogdanovic now that he's back down to 6K on DraftKings. And then, just looking at my Hawks exposure, I have all the Onyeka Okongwu. I have a bunch of Bogdanovic, and then I'm getting, we'll have to see the ownership update for Jalen Johnson, but I'm over the field on Jalen Johnson too.
Yeah, is it honestly, both of them right now, as it sits, feel like they should be over 50%? Is that kind of your feeling for it, or kind of what are your thoughts there?
Well, Okongwu should definitely be 50%. Bogdanovic, I'm hoping he doesn't, if he stays in the team.
I meant Johnson.
And then Jalen Johnson. If he was 6,500, I could see him being 40+%, like he's been chalked a lot. But if he was 50% tonight, then I'd have some second thoughts about playing him so much.
I gotcha. Then let's jump into Minnesota as well, because they are a little bit banged up. To me, I think we probably just want to be looking at Towns. For what it's worth, this is actually a pretty good question coming in from Jose. Is it going to be a 2-center night tonight? And I think so, just because of the news. So obviously, Towns is going to become a good play at 7.9. Reed is probably a play that we're going to be looking at. What are your initial thoughts for Minnesota tonight?
So a lot of times, especially on the larger slates, I don't even have to set the rule to try to get two centers. It just happens naturally. But today, I have all the Okongwu, and then I'm not getting a center in every utility spot. Miles Turner, Trace Jackson Davis, who, if he ends up starting, his ownership projection will all go up. Jalen Duren, Paul Reed, Alperen Sengun. So it's but I'm not getting too much of these guys. And so I see a lot of guards and forwards in my utility spot. Maybe that'll change by lock. But it's kind of weird because we don't have any of the super studs on today's slate, right? We only have a couple guys over 10K. And so, there's a lot of good plays on this slate now.
But yeah, for the players from Minnesota, is there anyone that you like? Because none of them are too chalky just yet. We got Walker, 18%, 15%. Kyle Anderson, who is projected to be the best value from Minnesota, priced at 4.4 and 4.7, is coming in as a pretty good play. I don't know. To me, I kind of like Reed, but he's not pulling in any ownership. And then, I think Towns is going to be someone I'm just going crazy with tonight.
Yeah, Towns finally started showing up this season, so I'm going to be playing a bunch of him. Don't mind getting there. He does have the power forward eligibility, which is nice. And then if Naz Reid's ownership stays kind of low, I don't mind getting there either. I think that the Indiana guys are pulling some ownership, Jalen Smith, Obi Toppin, and Miles Turner. And I know they're going against Washington, but if Naz Reid's ownership comes in lower than those guys, then I really like that as a pivot.
Yeah, we'll jump into the Pacers as well here. So, they're going to be without Halliburton there, and it's really just trying to figure out what to do. My initial thoughts were, all right, TJ McConnell, but that was DraftKings and FanDuel's thought as well. Big price bump for him. Then my next thought was actually Bennedict Mathurin, and he's kind of low priced on FanDuel because I kind of figured Andrew Nembhard would be priced up. It's kind of mixing and matching a little bit with the pricing here. So are you looking at Nembhard as a kind of go-to play on DraftKings? And then are you looking at Mathurin as a go-to play on FanDuel?
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in Mathurin. I still worry if his minutes are just not secure, like we've been talking about all season. He could play 22, he could play 36. We'll have to see what they do without Halliburton. We don't have a huge sample size with these guys out. I was actually expecting Nembhard to get the biggest boost. It's obviously TJ McConnell, and then it's actually Aaron Naismith. It's still a fairly small sample size, but Aaron Naismith, Bruce Brown, and then Andrew Nembhard are getting the boosts without Tyrese Halliburton on the court.
I feel like that is just a like situational thing. I don't know. Like obviously we really don't have the sample size we'd want with that. Like it's just I saw that too, and I'm just like I don't believe it. Like I don't trust it almost because obviously Halburn plays heavy minutes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure though. It might have been last season already when Nemhard had a few like super blow up games and people were really hyping him. I'm pretty sure those were without Halliburton. Could be mistaken, but
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have interest. But it's kind of reminded me of like Killian Hayes yesterday, and I'm still interested in Killian Hayes today. But if the field is gonna get there super heavily, I'd kind of rather just try to tone back my ownership on Nemhard and get to a little bit more Bruce Brown, who's coming in at 3% on DraftKings. And on the previous stream, I said Bruce Brown is someone I will never recommend playing, but situations change. So
It's funny. I think on my last stream with the Pacers, I was like, "Oh, Bruce Brown's a decent play." That's funny. It was against Atlanta. Yeah, he was a decent play for what it's worth. But what would be the ceiling from him? Like 30? I mean, obviously, whatever. But it's like 35. Is that really like what would be your expectation for his ceiling if you're playing him tonight against Washington? 35 fantasy points.
yeah, I mean that's the problem is that ceiling just isn't quite there for Bruce Brown. So I think he gets there to pay off his tag a fair amount of the time, but like giving us that super ceiling outcome, I'm not sure about it. But it's a few percent, and if he's really going to stay under 10% owned, I think it's worth taking some shots. I mean, 1/10 of the ownership of Nemhard is what we're showing right now. So
Yeah. We did get a question about TJ McConnell as a play. Specifically on FanDuel, but I think it applies for DraftKings. I don't know if he was projected to get 28 minutes. I'd probably be like jamming him into my builds. It's the fact that we only have him projected to get 24 minutes that kind of worries me, and the fact that he is kind of chalky. What are you doing with McConnell today? Because we have seen him in this spot dominate last season for sure. This season, with him only projected to get 24 minutes, I'm a little worried.
yeah, I'm just looking at the minutes projections for all of the Pacers, and I mean, just doing the quick math in my head, this doesn't seem like it adds up to 48 minutes for every player.
Yeah.
But a couple guys not in the model pulling like 8 minutes or something, they're not going to show up. But I mean, TJ McConnell, it's really tough to project him for more than 24 minutes. He probably has the potential to play a few more, but I think it would be very rare that we're going to see him get into the 30-minute mark. But at 7K on FanDuel, I mean, 19% ownership, I think it's okay. I mean, I'm playing him about with the field on DraftKings. And FanDuel, we have a little bit more. We can just do a little bit more with the salary, so I don't mind it. But he's not like a super play like he would have been if he was 6K.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't ended up on him at all today. Which again, I thought once the Halliburton news popped that I would, but I also didn't think it'd be this high priced.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Any other comments before we get into some more? I guess this one, Bogdanovich, if Murray is ruled out. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty simple.
Yeah, I'm not going to be all in probably, but I'm already getting to 30% Bogdanovich on DraftKings with Murray in. So I imagine that's going to go up even more if Murray gets ruled out. We'll have to see if he starts. Doesn't really matter. He's going to play 30 plus minutes anyway.
Yeah, no. And then we do have obviously a ton more injury news. Is there anything that you want to highlight specifically? Because I mean, there's just a lot. We got Embiid out. I guess we'll jump to. I don't know. There's a lot. We'll do Philly real quick, and then we'll do Charlotte. Again, there's a lot. So Embiid is going to be out tonight. Melton's still questionable. I would say everyone's kind of correctly priced, but we have Harris and Maxey pulling in some ownership. Are you getting to either of those two?
I'm getting to a bunch of Maxey, and I tried to get to less of Tobias, but it wasn't letting me. I'm still getting to a fair amount of Tobias. Projected for some ownership. I don't hate it, but I think if Jalen Johnson comes in at that low ownership, then he is just such a good pivot to Tobias, or you could play him together either way.
Yeah. We'll jump into Charlotte real quick as well. So Charlotte is really, really banged up tonight. Mark Williams out, PJ Washington out, Martin out, Gordon Hayward out. And so on the last slate, Miles Bridges actually kind of went off. Nick Richards, I shouldn't say went off. It was an OT game, I'm pretty sure. It was really Terry Rozier that went off. Is there anyone that you're looking at to specifically target for Charlotte tonight?
Yeah, I'm getting all the Terry Rozier right now, and I feel like that's not going to change through lock. He's actually my second highest exposed player after Okongwu right now, and so we'll see if that holds, but 8,500, he's been on a tear. We love targeting teams against Sacramento. And his usage is just off the charts. And then to a lesser degree, Miles Bridges is an okay play too. He's fine at much lower ownership if you want to fade Rozier for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy to get to Miles Bridges, but I would say Rozier definitely has the higher ceiling for sure. Any love for like Nick Smith at all? Projected to get 25 minutes. I mean, 8%, 4%. Bryce McGowan's 22 minutes. Like, I don't think we need the value on tonight's slate. To your point earlier, there's not enough like pay up options to the point where we need to like target it, but they are projected to get heavy minutes.
Yeah, I mean, so Nick Smith, he played 32 minutes in the last game. Like you said, it probably went to overtime. And, I mean, we haven't projected for 31 minutes tonight, and that just seems... I don't know. I don't think he plays 31 minutes tonight in a regular game. So, I'm looking at Nick Richards. I'm sorry. Nick Smith projected for 25, much more reasonable.
Still though, 25 minutes is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if he's pulling ownership, I get that he's cheap over on FanDuel coming in at 20%, but it feels like the spot that I would try to fade.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Let's see here. Other news. Miami, I don't feel like we really need to touch on that in depth. Zion game time decision. I don't even know if that game's on the main slate. Is it?
No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Yeah, last game on the main slate.
Okay.
Against
So,
Golden State.
being questionable. Yeah, so Chris Paul out, Gary Payne out, Green out. And then I guess we can touch on that real quick because you kind of mentioned Jackson Davis. I think I recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was announced starting late, and Steve Kerr switched up the starting lineup the last couple of games, and he came in just too low owned, and he had actually, it looks like he had his best game so far in the NBA. So 27 minutes in the previous game. We haven't projected for, 25 minutes. I mean, if he hits 25 minutes at 3% ownership, 5,400 on DraftKings, I'm going to be very interested in getting over the field on him.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know if I'll get there just because I probably will be going with more of the higher price center plays that are kind of chalkier, but I get it. Upside wise, it's there. I would say more on FanDuel is appealing there as well. Power forward eligible.
Especially just in the last game, if he is starting, if we had confirmation using the starting lineup right now, I imagine his ownership would be much higher. His projection would be better. And so if we get that news after the slate locks, I mean, half the games on the slate lock right at lock. And so there's so many roster spots that are going to be taken up by the field that people just aren't going to be able to get there. Like we saw Thad Young inserted in the starting lineup late. And like all day, we should have known that was a possibility. But he came in at less than 2% owned on DraftKings. Chris Boucher came in at like 25%. And it's just like, yeah, it's not going to work out every time where Thad Young doubles Chris Boucher's score, plays all the minutes. But it's just kind of a similar situation where people aren't going to have the spots to get to him.
I'm kind of mad just real quickly about that the fact that they're not on tonight's slate, because I could easily see that flipping tonight and like the ownership would be heavy on Young. It's just like, oh, it's a back-to-back. That's what I'm actually mad about myself yesterday with, is not realizing that was a back-to-back, because that is certainly plausible. Like giving Thad Young a lot of minutes in one of those games makes sense. Giving him a lot of minutes in both games, to me, that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and Thad Young, I'm pretty sure he's been in the league since like 2007. He might be the second or third oldest dude in the NBA. So him on a back-to-back after playing heavy minutes last night, it's pretty unlikely. So if you're playing the night slate tonight, and it's a much better matchup for Boucher to get more minutes here too. So
I might play the night slate just honestly for that reason.
I'm gonna get to Boucher a bunch on the night slate tonight and just hope that the field got scared off last night or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. We got Jose letting everyone know to hit the like button. Yes, guys, smash the like button. That does help out a lot here. Let's see here. So we've got Courtney liking Kevin Love as the play. Jalen Johnson, Bridges. All right. Like it. Wemby going overlooked tonight. No. What are your initial thoughts for Wemby tonight?
He is on a hard minutes cap. I think he played 25 minutes last game. We're projecting him for, I don't know, probably 26 if I had to guess. That's what he had projected for last time. I mean, we've seen him go over by a minute or two. It's possible, that he gets there at his price tag, especially against Detroit. But it's just that the ceiling is still kind of hard capped. And so it's tough to get there.
I was following along in that game against Cleveland pretty intensively just because I was really trying to see would he get minutes, because it was a close game. They hadn't really had a true close game in quite some time. I know the one against Milwaukee kind of seems like it It was, but also just with the rotation and whatnot, it didn't seem like he was going to come back in against Cleveland. It seemed like, all right, if they're trying to win, it makes sense to bring back in Wemby at this point. They did not, and so that is very telling that we already know it's a hard limit, but after that game, I'm like, yeah, I cannot touch Wemby for quite some time, even if the matchup is that good, as long as he stays really above 3K. Like that's a little bit too thin for 26 minutes.
And I don't know if it was 2 games ago or maybe it was even more than that, but there was one game where he was at his minutes limit and he checked him. The report said he checked himself back into the game with like 3 minutes left. So I don't know how true that is. But I mean, the Spurs are doing right by him to protect your young asset. You're not winning this year. Just develop, get comfortable playing in the NBA. But with that said, I am getting to a little bit of Wemby on DraftKings. Just a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, he's 4% there. I mean, it's a good matchup. It's a good matchup. We got some more questions coming in. Sangoon, and then kind of Fox as well. So we'll kind of touch on these as we get into the position by position breakdown. So let's actually just go ahead and jump into that. We'll start out with the guard plays. So looking at the guard plays that we have on tonight's slate, again, some of the studs are out with Halliburton being out and whatnot. Trae Young, not too high priced. DeJounte Murray, kind of low price, popping in as the best value. Looking at OF index wise, SGA is someone you could potentially play, but again, like pricing wise, doesn't seem like a starting point. Looking at ownership, the starting points for a lot of people seem to be Rozier and Maxey. I know you mentioned Rozier as a starting point. Is that kind of why? Just because naturally, pricing wise, there's not enough players to pay up for. You just kind of like Rozier at his price tag a little bit more.
Yeah, and it just, to me, Rozier just kind of has it all. His ceiling is there. It seems like the floor should be there. And in a high-paced game against Sacramento, I mean, his ownership is kind of high given the size of the slate, but I still really like getting there. And an SGA on DraftKings, 10-5 is still a little bit too cheap. It's a seemingly tougher matchup against Miami, but I don't really care about that. It's probably actually worse for him that Kyle Lowry isn't playing tonight. It'd be better if Kyle Lowry was on the other side, but... Yeah, getting to SGA, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, Anthony Edwards doesn't necessarily get a large boost with Gobert out, but he's flashed a pretty great ceiling the past few games, and I feel like this is a game he's going to get up for against the best team in the NBA. And so all these top 6 guards, I'm pretty interested in all of them. And then it's actually so interesting to see quickly. I guess he's on the night slate.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm so mad.
The Raptors are a target for like got my Raptors hat on. Didn't realize they weren't on the main slate. But if you're playing the night slate, target the Raptors. Every day they're on the main slate until their prices adjust. Target the Raptors. So
yeah. I will say I kind of like Jay and Ivy tonight. Again, like I was on him last night. I don't know. I felt like he was being undervalued compared to like what I expected him to do. And honestly, I don't want to say I expected him to do 40 fantasy points, but I kind of did. Like, the data kind of really likes him with Cade Cunningham off the court. And so I really love the fact that he got 33 minutes. I want to see what he's projected to get tonight. 36. So yeah, if we get, or 33. So if we get 33 out of him again against San Antonio, I feel like the 7% again is just too low of ownership. Talk me in or talk me off of Jay and Ivy tonight.
No, last night that was such a sharp pivot with the whole field going to Killian Hayes. And Killian Hayes, I think he took one shot in the first half. Yeah, he was fine. I mean, he didn't kill you. I think he probably still ended up in the winning lineup just because of his ownership. But Jaden Ivey, yeah, I mean, 6,800 on DraftKings, it feels a little high. But, I mean, this is a game that it's a 3-point spread. How often do we get the Spurs in Detroit, these teams with such a tight spread? And no one's going to play him. I really like getting there, especially as kind of like a more expensive pivot off the likely chalkier Bogdanovich on the Atlanta Bogdanovich. And then Killian Hayes tonight, 5,500. His price came up a bunch on DraftKings, but I don't mind going right back to him. Like, he disappointed everyone yesterday. And so I like still just taking some shots on him at that low ownership.
I can't touch him. I'm not touching him. I was suggesting fade him yesterday, and thankfully in a couple of lineups I did. It worked out. We kind of look at different data sets, I think, slightly. I'm looking at the per 36 production, which is a little bit different than what I think you look at. He wasn't popping up that much with Cade Cunningham off the court. Like, he was popping as a solid option, but like, what are you seeing on your end? Because on my end, I don't really see it data-wise.
I might just be reminiscing about those that week or two that he completely went off the decent price, even with Cade Cunningham in. That was
Okay.
before Alec Burks came back, and I think Jaden Ivey
Yeah.
was actually out at that time too. But I just can't help myself targeting these guys the day after they fail as massive chalk, and no one's going to
I
play
hear you
them.
there. I hear you there. That's actually a good point. Again, with Boucher, it's like I wish he was on the main slate.
Right. I did want
No,
to.
that
We'll get
no.
to
Go ahead,
forward.
start.
Sorry. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I
no.
was just.
I was
Well, I
gonna
was just
pivot. So we can pivot.
with since we're on Detroit, I was going to mention Bojan. The coach said something about minutes reduction, but that didn't happen yesterday. That was a lie. So, like Detroit is all in good spot tonight.
Yeah, I would say the only player from Detroit I don't really want to get to would be Burks, just because he's not really getting the minutes. But I like both Bogdanoviches. So when you said Bogdanovich earlier, I was like, which one? Because they're both kind of in good spots, assuming that he gets 34 minutes in this game. Like that'd be pretty awesome as well. Again, how many times do we get Detroit and San Antonio, for that matter, in a 3-point spread? To me, that's intriguing. Now he is kind of decently owned 22 and 18%. Is that correct, or is that a little bit too high for you?
Actually, I did not notice his ownership. I think it's a little bit too high, but I still have interest. I probably won't be over the field on that.
Yeah.
But it's such a letdown spot, right? Like a
Yeah.
great matchup. He had a great game yesterday. Why wouldn't he just fail today for no reason?
Yeah, no, for real though, honestly. But at the same time, that's he is kind of the guy you would naturally expect to be a solid safe play for them.
Like the thing is, his usage should be sky high. Like him and Jaden Ivey, and then I guess Duran to an extent should be doing most of the work on both sides of the court. I did want to ask you about one of the guards on San Antonio, Trey Jones, 38% on FanDuel at 5,600 and 58 on DraftKings. Were you getting to him much?
No, not at all tonight just yet, but honestly that might be a mistake. Just again, 3-point spread, right? Like, and I already talked myself into some Detroit plays, so I think I will end up getting to him more now. This is one of those things where I enjoy doing the videos because sometimes, get onto some plays that you might have missed, and I think that's one of them. I mean, 32 minutes, if we can get that as price tag, that's highly appealing. What about you? Were you getting to him at all?
Yeah, on DraftKings. So I question the ceiling, and I hate to use the word safe. It seems like he has a floor though. Like he's not going to kill my lineups, and he could. I mean, if he gets up to like 35, 36 fantasy points, he could still be in the winning lineup for sure. And so I don't mind taking shots there, especially his minutes have been coming up, and if he's in the starting lineup now.
Yeah, it does feel very safe, but at the same time, he does have a little bit of a ceiling, I would say, tonight.
He definitely could. Yeah, if he gets 34 minutes, I mean, we haven't projected for 32. So
Yeah. So yeah, pivoting on into the forwards, we already kind of know who we're probably going to. Again, this will probably update ownership wise. I'll do that at the end of the video here. But Aganku, you got Johnson, you got maybe Kyle Anderson. He's popping up as a good value, and then Bay. But really, Tobias Harris is popping up as chalk. Jalen Smith. That's actually a little bit interesting. I didn't realize that. And then you got Detroit Bogdanovich is popping up as chalk. I mean, it seems like we're just plugging and playing the two Atlanta bigs. And then kind of what are you doing after that?
So I kind of want to fade Kyle Anderson, and I kind of want to fade Jalen Smith. I already mentioned. I mean, their ownerships aren't egregious or anything, but Kyle Anderson, Gobert's out, sure, but this guy has been so bad this year. His usage is down. Everything is down for this guy. And if the field is going to flock there, I feel like I'd rather just take the leverage and play anyone else. And then kind of similar with Jalen Smith, I think I'd rather just pay a little bit more and get to Miles Turner. Not sure what the difference in ownership is, but not excited about playing Jalen Smith tonight.
No, either am I. Like he was someone that didn't even register as a play for me today. I think it's just because of its price, but good matchup.
And if Jalen Johnson stays at 11, and I mean, the 7,400 on FanDuel is a little bit tougher to get to, but 11% on DraftKings at 7K, like it's just wrong. I'm going to be 3x the field on this at least. And
I
then
got to refresh.
Tobias, similar price. I'm getting to Tobias. Like I said, I tried to get away from him, but it's really tough. But it's noteworthy that Jalen Johnson and Okongwu both have double-digit OF indexes for cheap-ish players. Doesn't pop up too often.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to hit the refresh on that to see the ownership on Jalen Johnson. That's surprising. Still 11 and 17. Is it the price?
Yeah, it's got to be. Well, I think it's more. So with Jalen Johnson on DraftKings, I think it's more that there's other options. Like people are going to get to Tobias, and then I guess Bogdan, different position, but and then Kyle Anderson's going to take up small forward, power forward ownership. I think like he's been a tournament winner how many times this year at lowish ownership, and he could fail tonight, sure, but I'm going to take that risk. And I wanted to mention he has a higher OF index than Cat, who's $1,000 more, which is pretty significant.
That was gonna be my question. It's like, who would you rather play tonight? Karl Anthony Towns at kind of low ownership, or Jalen Johnson at also low ownership, not including pricing. Like, who is the better play tonight? Who scores the most points, Cat or Jalen Johnson?
I mean, the safe answer for right now is Cat, but I don't think it's that much. I don't have them that far apart. And for the price, I have Jalen Johnson as the better play. And it's just price, ownership, everything. I'm going to be getting to more Jalen Johnson, but I still want some Cat if I can. I actually am not getting any right now. It might be because I'm getting so much Johnson.
I think they're both safe plays. Maybe Cat against Boston, not as appealing, but still pretty safe.
Yeah, Horford's good on D, even with Porzingis out. So Cat's not just an auto play because Gobert is out too.
Yep. Let's see here. Jalen Johnson and Tobias together.
Yeah, no problem with
that
it.
We had.
Yeah, probably have a bunch of lineups with that setup.
So one player that I was on kind of heavily in the last slate because he was projected to get a lot of minutes, and he is projected to get a lot of minutes tonight as well, is Jaquez for Miami. I love chasing minutes. I am a sucker for minutes. I will always chase minutes, especially for a player that I'm biased against. Played 39 minutes, 26 points, did nothing, 5 for 11. Does his role increase at all tonight? Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler out, still a decent matchup. It's just weird that the production has fallen off. So what do you do with Jaquez?
I mean, I've seen a couple different sources project him for 37 plus minutes tonight, and at that price and under 10% ownership, sign me up, dude. I'm all about Jaquez tonight. And then to a lesser extent, Nikola Jovic. Someone mentioned Kevin Love earlier.
Yeah.
I think Nikola Jovic is a really good pivot off of. I don't even know what Kevin Love's ownership is, but Jaquez and Jovic are my two targets from the Heat tonight.
Yeah, I got to pull up him on FanDuel because last slate someone mentioned him as a FanDuel play, and he was a better play there. Not too chalky, 4% on there. So yeah, I like that call.
Yeah, minutes are going to be like Jaquez is probably going to play. Like he's definitely going to play more minutes than Jovic. But if no one's going to get to Jovic, this is because there's a lot of good pieces of chalk. I already know I mentioned I want to fade a couple of them. There's a lot of good chalk. I think we can just jam in on this slate, and then guys like Jovic make it so easy because we don't have to do anything else different in our lineups.
Yeah. Let's see here. So this is a good question to pivot into centers here. So we'll answer this question here. So Sabonis versus Charlotte on FanDuel specifically.
I mean, it sounds good, right? Sabonis destroyed yesterday. I think Duran said something about him, and then Sabonis took that to heart and just crushed. But he's been on kind of a tear recently. Top of the OF index. No one played him yesterday. Still pulling low ownership today at the same price. I think we're going to be pretty interested.
I agree. I mean, just been a rebound machine for the most part. I mean, last game only 10, right? Only 10. A few games ago, 15, 23, 19 against Charlotte. Last time out, 51 fantasy points. Like, that is definitely intriguing to me. And to your point earlier, it's pretty easy to pay up for whoever you want to. Maybe a few players that you want to pay up for. So, again, I personally think it's a two-center night. He's part of the reason as to why I think that. Some of the other center plays, we already mentioned some of them. Cat as one of them. You could go to Anika, probably get into Jackson Davis, Jalen Smith, Duran, Bam. I mean, there's a ton. Miles Turner, I know you mentioned. Who, I don't know how to phrase it. Like, give me your breakdown for the centers.
I think Okongwu. I have 80% Okongwu, and then all my other centers right now are 20% or less. And so I think it starts with Okongwu. Like I said, he could fail. He's going to be chalk, but his price is just too cheap for his expected role tonight. Is the main reason that we're interested in playing him. I like Miles Turner against Washington, and Washington gives up a lot of fantasy points to centers, but I don't know. I'm just thinking about the way that Miles Turner plays. I don't see him dominating Washington like a lot of other centers would. And like, I'm still playing him, but I am a little bit less in the field. He's showing up with some ownership. Jalen Duren, like I'm still getting to a little Jalen Smith. Don't love him, but I like Sengun and I like Trace Jackson Davis as another 1% GPP shot, and then Sabonis.
Yeah, this does seem to be a spot to gain a little bit of leverage if you're going just to purely center plays. Like Holmgren's kind of low owned, Sengun relatively low owned, and Duren relatively low owned, to your point, because Turner has gained a lot of ownership there.
Yeah, I'm interested in Chet Holmgren. I tried to force him in, but I'm only getting like 3% right now. Maybe I can try to get in a little bit more, but his price is probably just an awkward price point. He's not quite, the pay up that Sabonis or Sengun is, and he's not as cheap as like Jackson Davis, Jalen Smith, whatever. So that's a tough one. And then Paul Reed is the other like mid-range guy I want to mention. Assuming he starts again, he hasn't really shown that B-ball Paul ceiling that we're interested in, but if no one else is going to play him, I'll take the shot that he shows up today.
So kind of a trick question for you. Which Reed do you think has the highest ceiling tonight? Nas or Paul Reed?
So I imagine Kyle Anderson is chalk because he's expected to start tonight, right?
I think it depends where you look, but yeah, that's the consensus, I would say.
Oh, actually, I'm seeing Underdog has Nas Reed and Nikhil Alexander-Walker starting. We didn't
I just got that too.
Yeah, we didn't touch on Na, but I do not like Na tonight at the forward position filling in. Like, yeah, he could go off. It depends what his ownership is. If it's high, I'm going to avoid. If it's kind of low, then I'll still get there. But Nas Reed versus Boston or Paul Reed versus Atlanta.
Yeah.
I feel like it's Paul Reed with the higher ceiling. But Nas Reed has done some things this season that just blow my mind. So hit 6 threes in a row for no reason.
Yeah, I have a buddy that's a Timberwolves fan, and he has been obnoxious with Nas Reed. It's probably like me when Bobby Portis signed with the Bucks, where it's just like you got this role player that keeps dominating,
Right, and he'll disappear for 2 weeks at a time, but when he shows up in a big way.
Oh yeah. As Isaiah Stewart back tonight, I did not see that. I thought he was still out, but let me double check there. Game time decision.
Yeah,
but expected to sit.
Yeah, doubtful. So, expect him to be out.
Okay. Let's see here. So, yeah, we got the Reed question coming in. I don't know if that was asked because we were talking about him or not, but we just touched on that. We touched on Wemby earlier. Chuck's getting to him a little bit. I don't want to touch him. I guess how much ownership do you have to him? Because I know he's only like 4% owned on DraftKings.
Like 7%. So I guess I'm like double the field. I imagine that's going to change though. Because now that I'm looking at it, I feel like I would rather just pay a little bit more and get to Sabonis, or pay a little bit less and get to Sengun. So I have to adjust some stuff here.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. So this is weird. Gafford or Love to close the build out, and this is on FanDuel.
Is there any other options?
Right, 6.8 on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's like
there's got to be.
So here's one thing: like we've been talking about, we want to target players against Indiana because of the pace they play at, but they're without Halliburton on the court, they score 10 less points or whatever the stat is. It's significant per 100 possessions that Indiana is going to be slower tonight. And Miles Turner is good on defense. He's not exactly a player that we want to target centers against. So Daniel Gafford is not even on DraftKings at the lower price, just completely off my radar tonight. And then Kevin Love, this might be like thinking outside the box a little bit too much, but like I mentioned Jovic, OKC is a team that likes to run, and I wonder if Kevin Love, even though he's been getting the minutes recently, he's been doing very well. I wonder if this is a spot where maybe he just kind of can't play the minutes he's been getting. That's kind of why I'm interested in Jovic tonight as well. And either way, Kevin Love at the price, it's tougher for him to hit the ceiling now that his price has come up. And so I would probably just try and change another spot and not get to either of those guys.
Yeah, just slight rebuild. Yeah. So we got a question about Terry Rozier. Is he still a good play? And I think that is a perfect pivot to go ahead and get into the sample build for this video. So I already put in Aganku there. I think we're just both playing him. Terry Rozier, probably the next. Yeah.
Yep. Still my second highest exposed guy. I just reran it right now.
Does it matter which spot? Shooting guard probably, or it doesn't matter?
Scrolling through my builds, I have him in both. My point guard spot is either Trey Jones, Terry Rozier, little Tyus Jones, Tyrese Maxey. I guess it doesn't really matter though. We can switch it around if we need to.
Yeah. Do you want to go Jalen Johnson then next? Because I feel like we kind of both said he was that good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, top of the value. Hard to argue against.
Yeah. And so I am mad at myself yesterday for not having more conviction on Jaden Ivey, and now I'm probably gonna have too much conviction. Do you want to go him next? If you don't want to, that's fine.
Nope.
I would say we could go. Okay.
No, we're going
Trey Jones.
It's so funny. I've been thinking about this like when I'm submitting my lineups after the streams. Like, the sample build. I kind of want to get a little bit more contrarian. Like we're pretty safe. We play a lot of the chalk, but I want to get a couple contrarian guys in there. So Jaden Ivey is perfect, and for some reason Jalen Johnson's contrarian doesn't really make sense to me. But
yeah, I don't get that either. If we are playing two Atlanta guys, do we want to try to run it back with maybe a chalky Tobias Harris or Maxey? I don't really know if I want to do
that. I'm okay either way. Yeah, I don't mind it either way. I am getting more. Actually, I have both of them exactly 24% in my build right now, Maxey and Harris. So they're kind of expensive though. Is there another value guy we could try to fit in?
A little bit of Nembhard, a little bit of Trey Jones. Those are lower price guys that we could fit in that we both kind of liked. Value wise, like pricing wise, the best one that is Alexander Walker.
That's disgusting. His ownership doesn't seem too bad right now though.
No, 16.9.
Yeah, I don't want to put him in the dummy build though.
No,
I don't want to lead people there.
I hear you there. I was going to say I kind of want to do one of the reads, but also don't need to get that cute.
Yeah. Like for dummy build purposes, Nas Reed I think would make a little bit more sense if we wanted to go that route. Okay. So maybe this is too much for the dummy build, but one center I wanted to mention since we were talking about Wemby is Barlow on the Spurs. It's a great matchup against Detroit with Wemby on the minutes limit. Their only other center on the roster is Mamukelashvili, and Barlow's been playing some pretty good minutes recently. And if no one's going to get there, he's a source of super value if you can forego one of the other top centers.
Just an applause on the pronunciation. I mean, that's top of the line right there. Good job. I don't mind that call. Like we don't have any sub 4K plays that are really exciting. I don't hate that call. I think that's kind of sharp, actually. 20 points out of him, that's awesome.
Yeah, especially if it helps us get to builds that just the field isn't getting to today. Because it seems like it's kind of a mid-rangey day. Like I said, we don't have the super studs. And so maybe if you can fit in a Barlow and get SGA instead of Tyrese Maxey or something like that, I think that'd be pretty good. Do we want to put Cat in here? Can we fit in Cat?
I would rather do Cat. Yeah, I think that is the move. Yeah, let's get him in there. Oh, do you ever do that?
That was awesome. You kind of just wish the site would know who we're talking about.
Right? I know. Jeez. I do that way too much. Who's Zeke as well for NFL all the time. Not so much this year, but let's see here. So small forward. I kind of feel like we need to go Harris or Walker or Andrew Nembhard at the guard spot.
600 left. I was gonna say Bogdanovich is small forward and guard eligible. I don't think we're gonna the one on the Hawks.
Okay, I like them both. That's why I have to ask.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
7,000 for McConnell on FanDuel, too high to use. I don't mind it. It's probably appropriate, to be honest. It's tougher to hit a ceiling at that price, but on FanDuel we don't need like a super ceiling outcome from every guy to win a GPP.
So I closed it out with Nembhard there, and I kind of like this.
Yeah.
Kind of like this. Yeah.
No, I like it. Yeah, like we said earlier, Nembhard. Intuitively, you would think he gets a boost with Tyrese Halliburton, but the data doesn't reflect that. But I still like taking the shot that he puts up a ceiling. I mean, we have a couple of guys like this, and like Killian Hayes is kind of in the same category for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Preferably, I think getting to Trey Jones would be better and safer, but obviously can't make that work.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm going to hit a data refresh here. If you guys have any questions, get those in. We have a couple minutes left. Fun slate. It's pretty, like, one of the more fun slates in a while.
Yeah, one of the things that I was wondering about, Nick had a really good call on O'Shea Brissett on the previous slate, and he wasn't projecting any ownership when I looked a few minutes ago. He's actually not even in the model right now because we haven't projected for less than 10 minutes, but I think he gets more than 10 minutes. So O'Shea Brissett, super cheap source of value if you're trying to get there. Moses Moody is going to be unowned, but I mean, Steve Kerr's seems like he's experimenting with rotations right now. Moses Moody could be a pretty good source of value under 4K. And then I had one more guy I wanted to just mention here.
Oh.
Nope, that was it.
I do want to take a peek. I need to look at the price. Kevin Knox was someone I mentioned on the last game, did not do anything. Yeah, I just want to see the price, still 4K. If he drops below 4K, I might start to play him a little bit, but not at above 4K.
Yeah, with him not in the starting lineup, it's been tough for me to get there. But if he ends up starting for whatever reason, like I feel like I'd rather play him than Isaiah Livers. Not that I'm playing Isaiah Livers either. And Sar Thompson's basically out of the rotation for some dumb reason.
I got one random question though. Cam Whitmore, he's been someone that has kind of been popping for me lately. 17 minutes last game. They're still a little bit banged up for Houston. 3.6. Like I like the fact that his price dipped. This is one that I had written down in the morning, and I just remembered about it. Any love for him? He feels a lot like the Barlow play.
So kind of funny. I actually had to reduce his projection, or else I was getting too much of him. So maybe that tells you that he's a decent play. Like throw him in that under 4K plays at a less than 10% ownership. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah. We got a couple more questions here, and then we'll begin out of here, guys. So again, just be in at this video at the same time tomorrow and hit the like button when you do. But the question is Sabonis or Towns? Basically, is the question.
I mean, if you have the salary for Sabonis, his OF index is much higher. And then his cat lower OF index but higher value points per dollar. And so just whoever you have the salary for. I mean, Sabonis, the ownership isn't too much different to where I want to say, oh yeah, just find a way to pay for Sabonis. They're both good plays. Like I think we should be if you're making a bunch of lineups, I think you should have some of both of them.
Yeah. We got Glenn asking any Jovic on FanDuel at power forward.
Did they raise his price? He's at 45. So I like him at 4,700 on DraftKings. I like him a lot at 4,500 on FanDuel. He's not projected for that much more ownership there. Just realize that it's a very boomer bust play. He could definitely help you in a tournament, or he could definitely put up like 7 fantasy points or something in his 20 minutes. I haven't watched the Heat games, but I feel like he has kind of a shorter leash. But like I said, I prefer him over Kevin Love today, not just because of the price, but it seems like a matchup that's better suited for a Jovic type player.
Did you see the elite move that Eric Spoelstra pulled, as well as the Heat? You see that news? Got the contract extension, but it was after his divorce with his now ex-wife was finalized.
It's so good, good for him. And first of all, head coaches in the NBA making $100 million. Like seriously, good for this guy. Starting out in the video room, like basically doing what we're doing, but for an NBA team. And now he's got to be one of the best coaches of all time.
Oh yeah, easily. It's funny. I'll never forget the story about LeBron whining fired in the first year. Who knows if that was actually like much merit behind it? But isn't that crazy?
Just won a championship, but we got a couple pieces of news right here. So the Wolves are starting Kyle Anderson over Naz Reid, and so I feel like I'm more okay with Naz Reid now actually coming off the bench. If it lowers his ownership, he'll have more usage with one of Ant Edwards or Towns off the court, probably Towns. And Jalen Smith just got randomly ruled out. So
Jordan Nwora, come on, let it happen.
Oh my goodness! Imagine.
Because if he does get minutes, he's going on. Like, he's going to shoot a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that just means Toppin, right, though? I mean, probably.
Yeah. Like, I'm looking at the players we have in the model for Indiana. They're only in the model if we have them projected for 10 or more minutes. We had 9 guys. So take out Jalen Smith and his 23 projected minutes. I imagine some go to Naismith. I'm going to be pretty interested in Naismith. FanDuel price is a little bit tougher, but DraftKings price is good. And then Obi Toppin. I mean, 4,300 on DraftKings. I would really like to take some shots there. Maybe it secures some more minutes for Miles Turner. So where I said not as interested as the field, maybe I'm going to be more interested in Turner now. And it's, I don't know, maybe Bruce Brown has a little bit more room to get a couple of rebounds. So kind of benefits everybody, I think.
I think Isaiah Jackson might be coming in play as well too. So honestly, for the sample build, I'm just going to put him in there. I think he's slightly better now. I mean, are you fine with that? Just
I love it. Yeah, I'm so curious. This is why you guys got to sign up for the site, $7 a week, just so you can see the model in about 10 minutes after the stream ends. Because Isaiah Jackson, if I feel like he should be kind of the super cheap chalk today now. Great spot, great price.
I put up the Discord chat plug there, so I was hoping you want to pivot into that. You were doing it anyway, so
yeah, guys. Instructions in the description below. Join the Discord. It's the same thing. You get a different perspective. I believe we have who do we have in there today? We got Nick in there today, and so we're all working off mostly the same data, but you just get a different perspective on things. Maybe you hear a play or two. And it's feels a little bit more personal, I guess, since there's only a few people in there, and you can just ask whatever questions you have, and we'll try to answer it. We usually throw out a core and some GPP plays in there too. So join up, find out.
I'm gonna rapid fire these two questions that we have in here, and then we'll do a send off. So just real quickly, Trey Jones or Killian Hayes, and I'm gonna be biased here, but Trey Jones easy for me. Don't play Killian Hayes. I'm sorry if he goes off because I'm playing Jaden Ivey tonight. I do like him a lot. So again, sorry about the bias there if there is, but what are your closing thoughts on tonight's slate?
So I've mentioned a lot of pivots, but we just got some kind of slate changing news. And so like Dominic Barlow, I'm still going to get a few percent, but Isaiah Jackson is probably clearly the better play now. He has easier path to minutes, even though we know Embiid's on that minutes restriction. I think eat the chalk and then throw in one or two of those, just GPP flyers coming in at under 10% and you're good.
Yep. That's going to be all for today's video. Again, guys, jump in the Discord. Link is going to be in the description below. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck tonight.